Hey guys, okay, in this money and metrics lesson, I'm going to briefly be covering a metric called CAC, which stands for Customer Acquisition Cost. And so this is basically the price that you pay to acquire a new customer. Um, basically what it costs you to gain, visibility, get their attention, and ultimately, convince them to buy a product or service from you. And different companies have different ways of calculating their customer acquisition costs, and we can, get really deep on this stuff. But to get started, I'll just share a couple of formulas, a basic formula, and then a more complex formula. So let's just start with the simple formula, which is CAC equals MCC divided by CA, and basically that stands for the customer acquisition cost equals your total marketing campaign cost divided by the total number of customers acquired, CA. So for example, if you spent $5,000 on marketing costs and you got 10 customers from that, then each customer would have a acquisition cost of $500. Obviously it's not as simple as that, so there is a more complex formula, which is CAC, or customer acquisition cost, equals MCC plus W plus S plus PS plus O divided by CA. And what that is customer acquisition cost equals the total marketing campaign costs again, plus any wages associated with marketing and sales, plus the total cost of all, marketing and sales software. This could be your e-commerce platform. If you're using something like Infusionsoft or ActiveCampaign, it's that automated marketing platforms. If you're using something to do A/B testing or a paid analytics tracking service, any software that you use in relation to your marketing, plus professional services for marketing and sales. These could be designers or consultants, plus any other overhead related to your marketing sales. Maybe it's your cell phone costs, or maybe you're renting an office for your sales team to meet and call out of, and then so all those divided by the total number of customers acquired again. So for example, here let's just imagine a much larger operation. Maybe we're spending $500,000 on marketing costs, such as Facebook ad spend. Maybe we've spent $1 million on wages associated with marketing and sales commissions. Think of like managers or just a sales team. Maybe we've spent another $100,000 on all of our email marketing tools or split testing tools, server costs to host our website. So another 100 grand there, and then maybe we hired a design agency or consultant and spent 250 grand on all of our design materials, like our website, just any banner ad materials, brochures, just anything we can think of that would fall under that category. Then maybe we spend another 10 grand on other overhead related to marketing and sales. Maybe these are cell phone bills or data plans. So that's going to give us a total of $1,860,000 that we would have spent on all of this. And then let's just say we're selling a product and we actually get 10,000 customers from that campaign. So we're going to divide 1,860,000 by 10,000, and that's going to be our customer acquisition cost, which is going to be $186 to acquire each customer. So this is pretty important stuff, and as you can see, the customer acquisition cost, it's a very important metric to measure, if not one of the most important metrics in digital marketing and e-commerce. And it's especially important to compare it right along with your customer lifetime value, or LTV. So, we have a ratio which is LTV to CAC, LTV to CAC, which means that it's just super important to know the ratio for how much value you're making from customers in relation to the actual cost of acquiring them. For example, if your ratio is any less than 1-to-1, you're basically going to fail, and you're going to fail fast. And this means for every customer that you're acquiring, you would just be losing money if it's any less than 1-to-1. A good example for us web designers is maybe we're offering a service and we're only charging $500 for, a lot of times we see what prospects are calling simple websites for $500. But the truth is if you spend 50 hours browsing Craigslist and sites like Upwork, and you're replying to job posts and emails before you land the client, and again you're maybe spending 50 hours, and then it still takes you 40 hours to complete a site because they're asking for a bunch of revisions, and it just kind of goes way overboard to complete the website. At that rate, you're going to basically only be making about $5.50 an hour. But if you take into account any kind of other fees, maybe like the cost of your software, your computer, your internet, phone bill, maybe you have a meeting with this client, you pay for gas, time, parking meter fees. It costs you to park or just get to where the client wants to meet, etc. This is obviously not a good trajectory to be in. So stop. That's why you need to track this kind of stuff. If your ratio is 1-to-1, you're still losing money because of time and energy that you're investing. It's like putting $500 in to acquire a customer. That's your customer acquisition cost, and then just getting $500 back again for the value of a sale. There's zero return. If not, again, you're possibly losing money because you've invested time and energy in it. And if there's zero return, there's no point investing your money for zero return. It's kind of like you wouldn't buy a stock that just got 0% interest rate. So it's kind of the same thing with acquiring a customer. And even if your ratio is 2-to-1, you still need to improve. For example, like maybe let's just take a look at like if we had a digital product, you might start feeling a little better if your ratio is at 2-to-1. But let's say you've spent $500 on Facebook ads, and you've made $1,000 sale of a digital product. So you've doubled your money, and maybe even made $500 in profit. So you could take that initial $500 and put it back into your ad campaign, and hopefully make another $1,000 sale, and so on. Just repeat that process. That's okay. At least you're in the black. You're not operating in the red, but it still needs improvement, especially if you're going to consider other costs such as product creation, design, etc. You need to take into account and determine what percentage of the lifetime value of the customer is a profit. So, for example, if the campaign made you a $500 gross profit, you want to take a look at what percentage of that $500 gross profit is really your net profit. If we start operating at like a 3-to-1 ratio of lifetime value to customer acquisition cost, then that's perfect. We're beginning to operate at a healthy customer acquisition cost. If we invested $500 to acquire a customer worth $1,500, it starts to give us something that we can work with, and again, only if the customer lifetime value is actually profitable when you fulfill the offer. And then moving on, obviously 4-to-1 is better than 3-to-1, but what we can't do here is make the mistake of taking out all of our profits. At this point and beyond, we should begin to reinvest more of our returns for faster growth. For example, if we're spending $500 and are profitable with a lifetime value to customer acquisition cost, we had a 3-to-1 ratio, and we were earning $1,500 a sale. Then when we reach a ratio of 4-to-1 and earn $2,000, we shouldn't just go and take that out, that extra $500 and go blow it on a fancy hotel or expensive dinner type of thing. We want to put that back into our ad campaign and hopefully earn an extra $2,000 sale. So if we're operating at 4-to-1 and we were healthy at 3-to-1, making $1,500 a sale, now we're making $2,000, investing $500. We should just take that difference between $2,000 and $1,500. So just take that $500 extra from that sale and reinvest it into our campaign and hopefully earn another $2,000 and so on. So if we're hitting a 5-to-1 ratio, we could increase that amount we're reinvesting to $1,000 from $2,500 sale and turn it into another 2 sales and so on. So obviously, it's not going to be so simple as I'm explaining, and you should always scrutinize what's called marketer math, which, by the way, I do have a whole other lesson on. So, this stuff gets tricky when you begin to run multiple ad campaigns and marketing channels. And, for example, you may have a pay-per-click campaign running on YouTube, and then someone sees a retargeting campaign on Facebook after they've visited your website. Then maybe they opt in and they watch a webinar, and then they don't buy until after they've received, a series of follow-up email campaigns from me for, 3 months. So if you're spending a significant amount of money across multiple channels, I think it's then going to make sense to start attributing things, such as the amount of time or resources you're spending per channel, and then break these formulas down that I've given you even further so that you're able to analyze your customer acquisition cost by channel. So we don't want to make things too complicated, but we do want to make sure that we're able to deploy more energy and resources into the channels that are working, and remove it from those channels that are not working so well. So when you're just starting out, you may only have 1 or 2 channels, and it's not too difficult to manage, but you should still track your time, I think. For example, I often see people spend a lot of time on social media without really accounting for the time that they spend, and that is a cost. Even if you spend 15 minutes a day on it, that adds up over a week, but usually that's not the case. You're going for a few minutes. If you create, say, a graphic for a post, or you're looking for an image to add, you log in, you upload that thing, you're checking the stream. So it can really be a time killer, and it is a cost. And I often make the same mistake when I'm creating content or lessons for this course, and I'll just start writing or designing without putting too much thought into the actual cost associated with the time I'm spending on it. And I think sometimes I will invest as much as 20 or 30 hours into writing and editing and recording just one lesson. So I think in the beginning we can probably get some traction by just going at it. But as things begin to grow or scale, and it's really required to bring on more resources or staff to grow and be accounting for how they spend their time, either writing or designing or planning campaigns, just doing the work, it immediately starts to affect your bottom line. So okay, I think some key insights and questions to ask yourself when you're doing this are, first take a look at your personal finances. And what if you did all the roles in, the creation of your product, and you've spent, 500,000 or even 2,000 hours a year, or even just creating everything from doing everything from design and copywriting to marketing and sales. Or if you hire a team to help you, are your lifetime value, customer lifetime values, and customer acquisition costs ratios, healthy enough to enable you to grow, or are you going to lose money? For example, would your net profit from your customer lifetime value, your LTV, be covering your personal financial needs after customer acquisition costs? And if not, take a look at if you're going to be able to adjust your prices for a higher lifetime customer value. Can you lower acquisition costs by spending less on certain channels or tools? There's just a lot of variables to consider, and if we stop paying attention or stop tracking, then we're surely going to get some unpleasant surprises. So I think that's it for this lesson. And again, we can get really deep into all sorts of variables of different or different approaches with customer acquisition costs. But I really don't want to ramble too long on this first introduction lesson. So if you do have any questions, please leave me a comment or send me an email to nathan@creativewebpros.com. And in the next series of videos, I hope to walk you through several spreadsheets that we can use to actually help us project and track these metrics. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.